Hi there, in this screencast I'm going to show you how to get a sprite on the screen or create a sprite object, and before we do that we need to actually create the class that's going to be the design for the sprite object. So in the design view of my project I'm going to go over and I'm going to right click on actor and choose new subclass. And then I'm going to say dinosaur with a capital D. Now, classes in Java are conventionally named with capital letters, so that to be consistent with that, I'm going to use a capital D for dinosaur. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention, you want to make sure that you have Java selected and not stride over in this little box. Okay, so now for the image, I'm just going to pick one of my dinosaur images, and that's going to change as your game is running, so it's not completely important that you um, pick any one of them in particular. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to go into my world and I'm going to add a dinosaur object to my world. So I'm going to go down into the constructor of my world, and the constructor is the method that gets executed when the game starts, and it will say public my world. And right after super 1280 1024 1, I'm going to say this dinosaur, that's the name of the class. Let's see, shall I pick a name for him? I'll say Devin equals new dinosaur. Okay, and now notice Devin is the name of my dinosaur variable. And now I'm going to say add object Devin, and I'm going to put the location 0 and let's do 600. All right, and I'm going to do compile, close, and there he is. It's kind of hard to see, but there he is. Okay, so that actually makes the dinosaur object, and now we're going to need to uh, modify the dinosaur class so that he can be controlled with the arrow keys. So I'm going to go into the dinosaur class, and I'm going to make a few variables right here. I'm going to make, at the top, I'm going to make animation count 1 and animation count 2, and I'm going to say a string variable named heading, and string is capitalized in Java. Okay, so I need to make a constructor method for my dinosaur. Now the constructor method will always begin with public and then the name of the class and then an open and close parenthesis and then an open curly brace and a closed curly brace, and whatever goes in here typically initializes variables when a dinosaur object is created. So we're looking at the dinosaur class. This is kind of the design for the dinosaur. So whenever you see the keyword new, so over in world when I said dinosaur Devin equals new dinosaur, I'm actually making a dinosaur object, and the dinosaur constructor gets called. So I'm going to set animation count 1 to be 0 and animation count 2 to be 0. And I'm going to say heading equals east, because that's the direction I want my dinosaur is going to be facing initially. Okay, so now when the act method executes, so when the game is running the act method, once the dinosaur is being created and added to the world, his act method is going to be called over and over and over again. So I'm going to I only want my dinosaur animated when when the user is pressing down on the key, on the arrow keys, and I don't want them animated otherwise. So one way to do this is to only update the animation count variable when a key is down. So I'm going to say this: if, oh, you know what? I'm going to make another variable called dinosaur state. And you know what? Let me make dinosaur heading because I'm going to have other objects. I'm going to change that to dinosaur heading. Oh yeah, it's up here that I need to declare them. So I'm going to say string dinosaur state and dinosaur heading. Okay, so I'm going to set dinosaur heading state to being stopped. Okay, and now in the act method, I'm going to say if dinosaur state dot equals running, then I increment my animation count variables. Now you'll notice that all I'm doing is comparing for equality. In C Sharp, you would say dinosaur state equals running. For whatever reason in Java, when you're comparing strings for equality, you have to use the dot equals method instead. So that's why I'm not using two equal signs. I'm saying dot equals and then parentheses running. Okay, so if dinosaur state is running, I'm going to update my animation count. And I'm going to say if animation count 1 equals 4, 5, and this is just like what we did with our XNA games, then animation count 2 plus plus, and if animation count 2 equals 8, because I have 8 images, they're numbered 0 through 7, then I'm going to set animation count 2 back to 0 to repeat the animation sequence. Okay, so now I have uh, my animation count variable updating as the act method is executing. It's only executing if the dinosaur is in the running state. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to detect key presses. And if the key press is down, I want to display the correct image. And I also want to say that the dinosaur will be running if the keyboard is down, and otherwise the dinosaur state is going to be stopped. So I'm going to make an if statement that says, okay, if greenfoot dot is key down, and then I put up, okay, else if greenfoot dot is key down, okay, else if greenfoot dot is key down left, and these are the arrow keys as you can probably guess, else if greenfoot dot is key down right, then do the following. Okay, so whenever one of the keys is down, I want to set the dinosaur state variable to be running. So I'm going to say dinosaur state equals running. So I'm assigning the value running to it. So I'm going to copy and paste that into each of my 4 parts of my if statement. Oh yes, and I want to have an else. Okay, so if none of those keys are down, I want to set the dinosaur state to being stopped. Okay. All right, so now how I want to move the dinosaur. Okay, so I'm going to say, so in the case of the up key being pressed, I need to reset the dinosaur's location so that his x value is going to be smaller than it was, or I mean his y value is going to be smaller than it was before, because just like XNA, 0, 0 is the top left corner of the screen. As I move from left to right, x gets bigger, and as I move from top to bottom, y gets bigger. So here's the way I set the location of the dinosaur. I say set location, and I say get x minus, no, get x, comma, get y minus 5. So basically, I have to call a method to do it. And inside the method, I specify a new x position and a new y position. So the x position, to get the x position of the dinosaur, I have to call the getX method. And how do I know that I have a getX method? Well, if I go and look at the actor class, so let me open the documentation for actor, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to see, let's see, getX. The getX method returns the x coordinate of the actor's current location. Okay, and then if I do, also if I look, there's going to be a set location method. If I can find it, let's see, let me do Control F, Control F, and wasn't coming up. All right, well, just know that there is a set location method. So set objects, getX, is it ed? Set location, there it is. Assign a new location for this actor. I supply an int, an x coordinate, and a y coordinate. All right, so let me get back to my dinosaur class. Okay, so that's going to be in the up case. I don't make any changes to the x, and I change the y. Now down, I'm going to add 5 pixels, and then to the left, I'm going to subtract from x. So I'll subtract 5 pixels, and I don't change y. So that's going to the west. And then now I'm going to, to the right, I'm going to add to the x, and I'm not going to change y. Okay, so now I know which direction my dinosaur is running. Now I want to heading in when they press one of the keys. I want to make sure that I display the right set of images. So I'm going to set the dinosaur, well, you know what? I may not even need dinosaur heading. Well, yeah, I will. Okay, so I'm going to say dinosaur heading equals north. And then for down, I'm going to say dinosaur heading equals south. And then for east, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, west. I'll say dinosaur heading equals west. And to the right, of course, I'm going to make it be east. And then else, I'm not going to change the heading at all. Okay. Okay, so now that moves the dinosaur across the screen. So if I do compile, looks like I have an error somewhere. Let's see. Oh, I think this, that should be 5. All right, let's try it again. Okay, no syntax error, so let me run it. You know what? Let me change the background so that it's darker. It's not as difficult to see my dinosaur. So I'm just going to say unspecified. Set image. And then, no, it seems to go back to, oh well, you'll get the point in a second. Okay, so now I'm going to run it, and I should see my dinosaur. Yep, there he is. He's going across the screen with key presses. All right, so now I just need to get the animation pattern going, or the animation sequence going. So I'm going to go back into my dinosaur class, and now I'm going to have another if statement down underneath. You know what? Yeah, down underneath the movement. We're just detecting the key presses. And now to be consistent with the way it is done in XNA, even though all of this code goes in the act method, it's a good idea to keep the actual movement and the drawing statements separate. So I'm going to put the movement code first, and then I'm down beneath it, the movement code, I'm going to move my animation count 1 plus plus loops. And then right after that, I'm going to draw, select the image to draw in the dinosaur. So I'm going to say if dinosaur heading dot equals north, then I call the set image method, and now I need to put the name of the file in quotation marks. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if you looked at your file names, these are the ones from that we've used before. So each one is numbered, and the rest of the file name is the same. So what I'm going to do is concatenate string values together. So fortunately, I don't have to have an array of images in Greenfoot. So I'm just going to, well, you'll see in just a second. So I'm copying the name of the file, and I did that from outside of Greenfoot. And let me see if I can. And I'm going to say set image, okay, and it's going to be running nor n0000 close quotation mark plus animation count 2 plus dot png. All right, so what that is doing is it's constantly picking, it's going to tack on the number that animation count is set to at the time the act method is executing. And since the act method is going over and over again and the animation count is constantly cycling, it's going to cycle through the names of the files, concatenating on, and let's see, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, so you know what? I should really only have 3 zeros here. Okay. And did I misspell dinosaur? Oh yeah, heating. There we go. And then I'm going to say else if, of course, dinosaur heading is east. Let's do south first. And then I'm going to use set the image of him going south. And then I'm going to do east and west. So I'm just going to copy and paste. So east is going to be E. And then lastly, west is going to be W. Okay, so that should do it. So let me close the code window. And let's do, oh, it finally did get rid of the images. Let's do run. Okay, so let's see if I can figure out what's going on here. I'm going to pause. All right, I found the error, and the error was I never set animation count 1 back to 0. So that means I was essentially nullifying my entire process here of cycling through the images. All right, so let me add that line, and let's give it another shot. All right, and run. Yep, there we go. Now I have the animated dinosaur moving across the screen. All right, and let's see if he can go off the screen. Yes, he can, which is what I want. All right, that's the first big screen cap.